Hello, crypto world. Welcome to the Chart Historian. My name is Justin, and on this channel, I delve deep into crypto charts, exploring chart structures, fractals, and patterns. So look at the XRP chart. Look at this nice little move up that we are experiencing. So I want to talk about what's going on here, and I also want to compare it to what the fractals that I believe XRP is currently following have to say about this move up. To begin with, I'm going to use the fractal that I believe has been a guidepost for this overall structure that we are currently in, and I'm going to take that from the 2018 sideways range-bound time, which is found over here. Now, why am I pulling this from right here? Well, for those of you who are subscribed to this channel, you know already. For those of you that are new, this structure is the first fractal of three fractals. So here is fractal 1, here is fractal 2. Let me move this down. And then here is fractal 3. So this overall sideways range-bound time is a repetitive structure that takes place after an XRP decline and before the next bull run. So just like we see here, as I pointed out previously in my previous videos, you have a bull run, you have a decline, and then you have this sideways range-bound time right here that took place after the bear market and before the next bull run. And this structure, this idea is repeated over here. We're not going to go into that right now, but it's a repetitive structure that is part of the macro structure of XRP. So you have a bull run, you have a decline, and then it goes into a sideways range-bound time. And as you can see, sometimes it's very long, other times it's not very long. So it is my belief that we are currently entering that time right over here. So that is why I'm going to take this fractal, fractal 1 of the three fractals, so this fractal right here, and I'm going to copy and paste it over here. So let's do that. Okay, so here is that fractal, copy and pasted onto this chart. So as you can see, for the most part, it has a fairly similar structure. You have the move up here, it declines. Now this little part right here, or this section right here, is this part right here. So the timing is different, and that's to be expected. So when a structure or a fractal repeats, it's never going to be identical. The timing, the height, and the depth, they're always going to be original. So what that means is just like this. In this case, it played out much sooner than it did here. However, the overall structure is repeating. So here it moves up right here, and it did that sooner over here. Here, there is some deviation, which is also expected when a fractal repeats. It's never identical. Sometimes a fractal can deviate here and there, just like it did here. So in 2018, we had this move up, but in today's chart, we don't. It drops. It even has this little move up right here, this little move up. And so now it's doing this. So just as timing, height, and depth, they're original every single time. So in 2018, it didn't move up that high. However, in today's chart, it did. It moved up quite a bit more. And that is also a normal occurrence when a fractal repeats. What I think is interesting here, even though it does look rather different, there are some similarities. So we have this move up right here, which was this in 2018. And we also have this, which is this, I would say. The trough here was not nearly as deep as it was in 2018. And in 2018, it kind of went downwards at a downward projection compared to what it did today. So in my previous video, I threw out the possibility of it moving down to a point and potentially moving back up. Well, in today's chart, it went sideways, and then that downward movement was represented with this one quick little candle that dropped to a point before moving back up. So now we are moving back up, and I would say that it is this right here. In 2018, it barely moved up. So I'm going to remove this fractal, and I'm going to copy and paste this fractal, this structure right here onto here. This one was from, I think, May to September of 2022, and I used it on my previous video as well. So we'll compare to see how today's chart is matching up when compared to this one. Okay, so here's that fractal, and as you can see, there is also a lot of similarity. So it kind of goes flat and sideways, drops here, moves up. It even has this little move up that it did in the original fractal. Now the timing is a little different on this. So on this one, for instance, it moved up a little bit after it did on today's chart. So that should actually be scooted over a little bit like that versus what it is. So the timing is going to be unique. Some points it will happen quicker. Some points will take longer for it to play out. So here we have this move up, and today's chart, it moved up higher than it did originally. So this structure would probably look, let's see, let's make this a little larger to match what we have here. So we have this move up here, and let's move the timing. So we have, instead of it kind of gradually going down like it did here, it is represented by that candle where it just dropped real quick before moving up. So now it is moving up, and as you can see here, let's move this back down a little bit. So as you can see, it even has some of the similarities where it has this little consolidation before the next move up. So we see that happening here. So if this is going to continue to follow this structure, it will do something similar to this in its own unique way. So the timing, the height, and the depth may be unique to what has happened in the past. However, the overall structure will likely continue to follow something similar to this. Now, let's take this off real quick. So why did I compare this structure over here to here when it's not part of that sideways range-bound time? So as a chart progresses, it does so many times in a fractal type nature. So this structure, it's going sideways and range bound. So is this one. Many times it will resemble what just took place on the chart recently. So that is why this structure looks so similar to this. The theme is being repeated here. That is why there is that congruity or that similarity to what took place over here. Let me throw on a Fibonacci retracement level, and we can estimate how much higher, if any, this could potentially go. Okay, so I align this Fibonacci retracement level with the peak right here and the trough right here. And as you can see, this is the 0.38, and here is the 0.5 level. So this, in the past, has made it above the 0.38. So it doesn't quite make it up to the 0.5. Let's zoom in and get a closer look at this. So I would say if it makes it up to the 0.5 level right here, it's probably doing pretty good. This is where it's at right now, is a very likely spot where it will start to turn over and start going sideways like the fractals we looked at suggest it will do. Now, let me go generic here. So the chart historian is going with generic TA. Woohoo! It doesn't happen all the time, but I'm going to do it. Okay, so this is probably, you're probably going to see some idea of like this. Someone's going to post something like this and say, hey, look, it got above its resistance line, and now, whoo, we're going to go to the moon. Another possible scenario is someone will do this. They'll use the RSI and base their technical analysis off the RSI. Well, if we're going to do that, I would venture to say that it's already maxing out here at the peak of the RSI right over here. Maybe it will get above it like it did here and here. But if it does, it's going to likely turn over and go down. So there's some generic TA for you, TA that you might see on many different channels. I don't really do that kind of stuff, but hey, I thought, Why not? Just for something different. So I placed that fractal from May 2022 to September 2022, and this with this resistance line, and this is a typical situation. Someone will place this resistance line on here and say, "Hey, if it makes it above here, it's gonna go up, and everything's just gonna be peachy." Well, the chart doesn't care. It's probably gonna just do something like this. It'll go below it. It might go above it. It could just follow this down here, walk down this resistance line, and then eventually drop and do this. Anyways, I don't really care to do this type of technical analysis. I used to be really into it, and it has its place. There's a time and place for it, but I think you really need to know where to put resistance lines and all that kind of stuff. You need to know the chart. The XRP chart has seasons, it has a macro structure, and you're not going to have a breakout at any old place. You can put resistance lines all over the place, but it's not going to follow that. It's following the macro structure. So if you put resistance lines at the right place, at the right time, sure, maybe that logic will apply. But what's more important is the chart structure, the macro structure. I pulled from the right place, the point where XRP goes from its decline into its range-bound sideways time. It is in the range-bound sideways time. We should not expect a bull run until it gets out of that range-bound sideways time. We are only in fractal 1. We haven't even finished it yet. We have fractal 2 and fractal 3. Once we hit fractal 3, that is where stuff comes to life. That's where XRP begins to get exciting. Right now, we are in the XRP winter. Understand that. And just because we're in this season, this winter, doesn't mean that it's all doom and gloom. We will make it out. That third fractal I would call spring, and spring goes into summer. Summer is a glorious time. But we have to get through this sideways range-bound time before we get to that phase. So just because XRP will double over and go sideways, don't be discouraged. Good times will come. We just have to make it through this time. Well, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you found some value in it. You know, if this type of technical analysis is your cup of tea, you should think about hitting that subscribe button, and that way you'll be kept up to date with my latest insights on the XRP chart. If you found value in this too, it would be much appreciated if you hit that thumbs up button. And one important thing, I am not a financial advisor, so none of this information I present here should be used or construed as investment or financial advice. That would be a mistake. I'm so glad you caught this video. I hope you catch my next one. Have a great day, and bye for now.